My name is Libby Fenstermacher, and today I'm here with Latika, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her background with astronomy and her experiences with being a woman and a student in astronomy. So thank you so much for joining me today. Do you want to share a little bit about your background?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Latika. I'm from India. I was born and raised in India, and I came to the US in August of 2021 to pursue an undergraduate degree in physics and astronomy. I am a rising senior at Mount Holyoke College, which is a historically women's college located in South Hadley, Massachusetts. So at my college, I am actively involved in the physics and astronomy department. I served as the secretary of our SPS chapter, the Society of Physics Student chapter, the past 1 year, and I will be moving on to serve as the co-president in the upcoming year. We recently founded an astronomy club, and I am fortunate to be the president of that astronomy club. Our college also has a historic observatory, the Williston Observatory, which was built in 1881, and it has the infamous Clark telescope built by the famous telescope maker Alvin Clark. And I often volunteer at open houses. We love to have open houses during the academic year there. And, outside of academics, I enjoy swimming, playing the piano and dancing. I'm not on the varsity swim team at my college, but I used to do competitive swimming for 8 years and I loved every bit of it.
Wow.
And fun fact about me, I have a diploma in an Indian classical dance called Kathak. I was trained in it for 10 years and I got my diploma in 2020.
Oh
So
my,
that's
wow, that's amazing. Um, what inspired you to choose a path in astronomy and astrophysics in the first place?
So my journey in astronomy began back in 2014 when I was 9 years old and I watched Interstellar for the first time. So Interstellar was not my first science fiction movie. I'd seen Star Wars, but I had never really been introduced to the universe before in a movie, like because through Interstellar, I remember first time I watched it, I saw what a black hole was. I saw what a spaceship was, what an astronaut was, what NASA was. I just never heard of these terms before, and I remember watching that movie and just being left so amazed by how vast and mysterious the universe is. So I remember coming back home and that night looking at the night sky because I wasn't one to really look at the night sky. I was not really into astronomy. It was just not something we were taught at school. I mean, I knew about the solar system, I knew about the moon landing, but they don't really teach us that at school. So I wasn't really one to look at the stars or like find which planet is there in the night sky. But I remember that night after watching the movie, just gazing at the night sky and being left amazed by how beautiful it is. And so I started borrowing books from a local library and just reading about the different planets. Nothing too complicated, just the different planets, what's in our solar system, things like the Kuiper belt that exists in the outer part of our solar system. I'd never heard of that. And the more I read, the more I was just so fascinated and I wanted to know what is out there. And my parents sort of noticed that I was beginning to develop this passion in astronomy. So we all joined this local astronomy club in Delhi, where I grew up. And we would go to weekly lectures that were given by like physicists and astronomers who had way more knowledge than us, learning bit by bit about what is there in the universe. I remember attending this really cool telescope making workshop. It was just so amazing. Like, oh my gosh, you can actually build these kind of things. Like, you don't have to be some well-educated engineer with like a PhD. Like, it was just so amazing.
Mm.
Um, And in ninth grade, which is April of 2017, I went to my first stargazing event. The club used to do like multiple stargazing events, and my father and we went to the outskirts of Delhi. And this is the first time I looked through a telescope. So before, I had always looked at stars and planets through a pair of really old pair of binoculars that my dad owned. Like he owned that since he was 10 years old. So they'd been around for like good 40 years. They were definitely they definitely were not of good quality. So I looked through a telescope for the first time, and I looked at Saturn, and I
Mm.
remember just feeling so amazed, like, wow, I am looking at Saturn the way it is right now at this very moment. And I remember it was like spinning so fast, it was out of the line of sight in like 2, 3 seconds, and we had to readjust the telescope. But it was just such an amazing feeling, and I sort of knew then that this is what I want to do in college, in my life. And yeah, I have loved astronomy since then.
Oh, so inspirational. I remember that feeling of looking through a telescope for the first time. It was Jupiter for me, and oh,
Wow.
just amazing.
Yeah.
So what are your aspirations with astronomy and astrophysics?
Yeah. So I am very much interested in doing research, building that up as my career. Um, I'm currently doing research on gravitational waves, and I just hope to be able to meaningfully contribute to this research in the future. There are some other cool topics that I'm interested in, like studying black holes or trying to find the existence of dark energy and dark matter. So I
Yes.
really hope to be in a position someday in the future where I can, work with this, do research in this. Likewise, I also enjoy teaching. Back in high school, I used to teach at a local NGO. I would teach like students who were in first, second grade, basic English, math, science, but it was just so fun teaching
Mhm.
them, helping them out. And um, I do want to be in a position someday in the future where I can teach and hopefully inspire the younger generation.
Well, you're doing that right now with this
Oh,
blog post. So you're gonna be great at whatever you end up doing with your path. But
thank
what are
you.
you currently working on?
So this summer, I am working at the MIT LIGO lab in Cambridge. LIGO stands for Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. It's simply an observatory that works towards detecting gravitational waves. So gravitational waves are simply created as a result of the collision of two massive objects in the universe. Think of two neutron stars colliding, or two black holes colliding. They will emit energy, and that energy is emitted in the form of these gravitational waves, which are simply ripples, like ripples that are created when you throw a pebble into a pond and it creates ripples. That's exactly what gravitational waves are. And because of highly advanced instruments that we have, which is called an interferometer, which is the I in LIGO, we can detect these gravitational waves. So back in 2015, there was this very, very groundbreaking detection of the very first gravitational waves that were detected from the collision of two black holes 1.3 billion light years away. And this detection proved what Einstein had theorized about gravitational waves back in 1915. So it's some really cool, amazing work that we're able to do. And since 2015, we've definitely detected a lot more gravitational waves from different objects like neutron stars, or gravitational waves between neutron star and black hole, like really cool stuff. And now we're advancing to using machine learning in this project. So for the summer, I'm working with a team of folks who are using machine learning to create this model that will simulate gravitational wave bursts from different pipelines and localize them. So what that
Wow.
means is a lot of big words. I can explain.
Oh,
So
that's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff what we're doing. Um, Pipelines. Think of pipelines as like different channels. For example, the TV has all these different channels, different networks that are broadcasting their TV. So think of the different channels as the pipelines and your TV as your night sky. So these different pipelines are picking up that gravitational wave burst from the sky. In this case, it's not actually the sky, it's just simulation. And it's mapping that, localizing that, basically pointing out from what part of the sky that gravitational wave burst came. And because we have these different pipelines and these different channels that are picking up the gravitational waves, we want to make sure they are efficiently working. So that's sort of the whole purpose of creating this machine learning model. So that is one project that I am currently working on. I'm also doing a more planetary science project on the side. Uh, so for the last 1 year, I have been working with a professor from Mount Holyoke College, Thomas Burbine, on this very cool project where we're looking at Mars Trojans and trying to possibly determine their origin. So Mars Trojans are simply asteroids that are revolving around Mars, and we don't really know where they came from. The most obvious solution that one could think of is, well, they probably came from Mars, you know. It's quite possible a high impact event took place, and as a result of that, rocks were ejected out from the surface of Mars and they got caught in the planet's gravity and they're just revolving around it. But it's also quite possible that there were asteroids that were just traveling through space and they happened to pass by Mars and they got caught in its gravity. So we don't really know where they came from. We don't know their origins. So Thomas and I were trying to use what is called the chi-square statistical technique to determine what the possible origins could be. And well, our results show that all pointed towards Mars. But you know, this is not definitive. Chi-square technique, it's one tool, but it's not fully reliable, especially because in today's world, we are now able to use machine learning to create models, to do a lot of work. So this was one thing that Thomas and I did, and I wrote a paper, and it is currently under peer review.
Awesome.
Thank you. But now this summer we are working on the second part of this project, which is basically to use machine learning to determine the origins of these Mars Trojans. So these are the very two cool summer projects I'm working on.
That's such a unique use of chi-square. As a sociologist, I use it
Yeah,
within my work, but yeah, I never thought about using it in that way. So that's really, really
yeah.
exciting. Speaking of exciting, what astronomy excites you?
Ah, there is so much out there that we don't know. I'm just so amazed by how vast our universe is and how complex it is, and that there's just so much left to be discovered. You know, we know so little about this universe that we live in. There are phenomena out there waiting for us to discover them. And for me, it's so thrilling, so exciting to know that I am part of something where we can really find out what is out there, discover these things. So for me to be given this opportunity to find these unknowns, it's so thrilling. It just makes me so happy every single day.
I'm so happy for you, and I want you to keep me in the loop of everything you discover along your way.
Uh,
So let's see, you already told me about what you're currently working on. So your future plans, where do you see yourself
yeah,
going?
I definitely hope to pursue a PhD in either astronomy or astrophysics or physics. And so I'll be applying to PhD programs in September this year. Um, I I very much enjoy the research that I'm doing at LIGO with gravitational waves. So, you know, I do see myself continuing this research somewhere in the future. And as I mentioned before, I love teaching. It's just it is so fun. It is
It
so
is.
fun. So, you know, if in the future, say I were to get into a PhD program, I would love to teach college students, or like a little far into the future, once I have a degree, I would also love to teach science to, you know, little kids.
Mm.
It's
Hmm.
so fun, inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, I work as a graduate assistant teacher, and I absolutely I love it. I love grading. I
Yeah.
love giving advice. It's just so rewarding, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can tell that you'll succeed at that if that's the direction that you end up going. Um, so, what advice would you give for someone looking at a trajectory similar to yours?
Yeah. So, well, first and foremost, I believe in this field, in a scientific field, it's very important to be passionate about your interests and really stay curious, especially because there are like so many times when you'll fumble or you'll, you know, face some sort of obstacle, you're stuck, you're getting frustrated, annoyed, but if that passion is there, you know, that will sort of keep you going. And I can say from firsthand experience that happens so many times, but I just love wanting to know more of what is out there. And so I can tell myself that I can keep going. So definitely be passionate, be curious. I also believe it's very important to take advantage of every opportunity that is out there to learn, to gain hands-on experience, whether it's through like research projects or TA-ship positions. You know, this is a very good way to build like all sorts of skills that will be useful in the future and really see the behind the scenes work. I also believe it's very important to build a strong network of mentors and peers. And I know that can be difficult for some folks. That was very difficult for me. Like I hesitated to like talk to my classmates. I hesitated to go to office hours or like ask professors questions because I am naturally a very shy person. Back in like high school, my teachers always complained to my parents that she's so smart, but she doesn't talk. So that was my weakness. But you know, it's scary. It's scary. You're putting yourself out there, you're taking that first initiative, but just do it because
Mhm.
these are the people who'll be there for you, who will guide you, and you want to build that network of mentors and peers. And I also believe it's very important to seek help when you're facing challenges. You know, just say it. I am stuck. I need help, especially because like we're college students. We're not expected to know everything. You know, we are in the learning stage in our lives, and our professors know that. People we're doing research with know that. Our peers know that. So don't be afraid to ask help and be open to new experiences. For me, working at MIT this summer is a very new experience because this is the first time in 3 years that I'm really working off campus. So to be in this new city with these new people, and my peers here at MIT are mostly just graduate students and research scientists. So to be in this new environment, it was a little nervous, but I got used to it. I met some really cool people. So be open to new experiences. Yeah.
We're all on this rock together. We're all on the
Yeah.
same journey. Let's figure it out together. That's awesome. It's great
Exactly.
advice.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Yeah.
mentorship, what mentorship did you receive along your path? And can you share any advice that you've garnered?
Yeah. So I feel very fortunate to have met some amazing people at Mount Holyoke, some amazing professors and peers, and Thomas Burbine, with whom I'm doing my project in planetary science. He's given me some really great advice. So Thomas has known me since my very first semester at Mount Holyoke, and he's seen me grow inside the classroom, outside the classroom. And he's really taught me the importance of perseverance and resilience, whatever work you're doing, because it is natural to face setbacks. It is natural to face challenges, but what's important is you keep going no matter how hard it is. You might have one bad day, you might have 10 bad days. I hope not, but it's quite possible you might have a bad
It
month.
happens.
You know, it just happens. but you have to keep going because the reward is going to be so sweet. So you're going to feel so good at the end of it. So it's very important to persevere.
Hmm.
I also learned from a lot of the physics professors at Mount Holyoke that collaboration is so important. And
Yeah,
not just in research, but like also in classroom. That was something that was very new to me because growing up in India, I always worked by myself. I did homework by myself. I was by myself in school. I didn't really work with other students or seek help from others. So to me, when I started taking my first few physics classes and professor said, you know, you should join study groups, I thought that is so strange. Like, why would you work like that? Why? But then I joined one and I realized, oh my gosh, this is so important because when you collaborate with each other, you're getting different perspectives on everything, and that's sort of improving problem solving. You know, everyone's bringing something new to the table, and it makes everything easier. You get a new and a better perspective what you're looking at.
absolutely. Absolutely. Diversity is 100% key because we all come from our different realities
Exactly.
and we all
Yeah.
have different things to share and things to add.
Yeah.
Um, what, if any, changes would you like to see for women in astronomy?
Yeah. I definitely would want to see an increased representation and support for women in astronomy. This could be through more funding and opportunities for women-led research projects, or even starting mentorship programs that are specifically designed to help women at different stages in their career. And I think this is very important because when I was part of my college's APS Idea Committee, I learned a lot that I did not know of women in this field. So APS Idea is the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Alliance of APS, the American Physical Society. I was the student representative on that committee, and the rest of the committee comprised of the physics faculty. And that was sort of my first time really seeing how the gender gap was like so big in this field, how there are like so few women that will get a PhD. Like it was eye-opening. And one of the things that made me want to do was start a mentorship program at Mount Holyoke. So Mount Holyoke is a historically women's college. So, you know, we may not necessarily face the gender bias that you would face at a co-ed institution, but I also felt it was important that women in a historically women's college feel supported in this institution and that they feel prepared for academic institutions that may look and feel slightly different. So we started that mentorship program and it was a great success. So I really feel strongly about creating mentorship programs for women in different stages of their career. I also think it's very important to recognize the achievements of women in this field. The more I read about astronomy and the folks who have contributed to it, the more I realize that women's achievements have been downplayed for a very long time. So really recognizing that is very important, you know, because it's important to know that even though this is the 21st century, there is still a big gender gap in this field. And so there might be young girls who would think that, oh, well, I like astronomy, but there aren't a lot of people like me in this field, so I don't want to continue going in. But if we start recognizing the achievements of women, and well, then they would see those women and think, but she did it, so I can do it. So
Yep,
it's very important to recognize the achievements of women in this field. Yeah,
absolutely. If you can see it, you can be it.
exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm just segueing myself today. What is your favorite movie, TV show slash
Yeah.
TV show?
Well, Interstellar used to be my favorite movie for a very long time. I've watched it 4 times and I loved it every single time. However, I watched Contact. I don't know how many people have heard of Contact, but it's the movie released in 1997 starring Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey.
I have seen that.
You
couldn't recall
have.
it, but now I'm gonna have to watch it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I saw it for the first time in 2 years. I'd never heard of that movie, but I saw it 2 years ago and it just I just loved it. I have rewatched it. I usually rewatch it a couple of every couple of months just because I love that movie because I'm just so amazed by how it explores the intersection of science and faith and the search of extraterrestrial life. And the way the movie portrays the sort of dedication and perseverance that's required in scientific research, which is very evident in Jodie Foster's character, it's so inspiring. Like the first time I watched that movie, I remember just like envisioning myself in her, like, wow, wow, it's an amazing movie. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm putting that on tonight and I'll let you know how it is later. Is there anything else that you want to share before we
Yeah,
say
yeah,
goodbye?
absolutely. I feel so grateful to have this opportunity, this platform to share my journey and my aspirations with you. I want to take a moment to recognize the Committee on the Status of Women in Astronomy for the amazing work that they are doing to support and promote women in this field. Their work is it's so impactful and significant not only for women today but also women and young girls to come in the future, and I just feel so honored to be part of their initiative. And thank you to you, Libby, for recognizing and celebrating the contributions of women in the field of astronomy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing this interview. This has been fabulous, and I can't wait to share your story with the world.
This has been amazing.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.